What's going to be with the hostage deal? Are we going to get all of the hostages back? Is Hamas going to actually come through with the promises that they've made? Only time will tell, but this is the question that's being asked by everyone who's following this particular situation. Check out the response from Secretary of State Marco Rubio when he's asked about this by Megyn Kelly on her show. But before we watch this clip, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. It really helps us grow. Thanks so much. Check this out.
And then there's Israel and the return of the hostages, which still include Americans.
Right.
Supposedly, we're going to get 3 Americans back in the first tranche, the first phase of this hostage deal. Do you believe we will? And what are we going to do if we don't?
Well, I expect we will, because that's the agreement that was made. And but the core problem here remains, and that is ultimately, as long as there is an entity like Hamas, whose express purpose is the destruction of the Jewish state, who is willing to commit horrifying atrocities against civilians, against teenage girls at a concert, and do the things that they've done, and take hostage for 1.5 years babies and elderly, and murder, and all the things that they did, that's a threat to Israel's national security. What country in the world can be expected to live alongside an enemy armed, capable, and willing of committing horrifying atrocities? You can't.
It's awful.
So I think that the ceasefire is important, because it brought an end to some of the destruction and certainly allowed hostages to be freed at an extraordinary cost. I mean, we're talking about a ratio of 1 to, you get a teenage hostage in exchange for 250 killers, Hamas killers that are released from prison. So just think about how unfair that trade is. But it tells you how much, we value life compared to what the other side, the Hamas animals, view this. Now, that said, the real challenge here is going to be what happens when the ceasefire period expires. Who's going to govern Gaza? Who's going to rebuild Gaza? Who's going to be in charge of Gaza? Because if the people who are in charge of Gaza are the same guys that created October 7th, then we still have the same problem.
Past is prologue.
It is. And so now the good news in the region is, in Lebanon, we have a government that hopefully will become more powerful than Hezbollah in the Lebanese government, and there's a ceasefire that was extended there that ultimately will lead to that. In Syria, a group has taken over. These are not guys that would necessarily pass an FBI background check per se.
Would not be coming over for Sunday dinner.
But if there's an opportunity in Syria, if there is an opportunity in Syria to create a more stable place than what we've had historically, especially under Assad, where Iran and Russia dominated and where ISIS operated with impunity, we need to pursue that opportunity and see where that leads. And if you have a region in which you have a more stable Syria, a more stable Lebanon, where Hezbollah is not able to do the things it does on behalf of Iran, a weakened Iran, who's now lost all of these proxies, it now opens the door to things like a deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel, which would change the dynamic of the region. And then ultimately, not make easy, but make easier resolving some of these challenges that we face with the Palestinian question, and in particular with the Gaza question. So there's a lot of work to be done there. None of it is certain. All of it is hard.
It's certainly nice to hear optimism in the voice of Secretary of State Rubio and his assessment of everything and how it will play out. I suppose only time will tell, and God willing, it will all come to an end very soon. We should have the hostages back. We should have had them back a long time ago. But it seems that things are progressing in a good direction, and time will tell. Let's pray for peace in the region. Let's pray for peace in the world. If you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.